Welcome to our latest episode of the ENT Review podcast. I'm Laura Dennis, Vice President of Sales and Marketing here at Xoran.
And I'm Rami Al-Zubi, National Sales Director for ENT Sales.
Today, we are talking about all things patient experience. And it's going to be probably a 3-part podcast. That's what we're thinking.
We could talk for a while on this.
We could talk for a while. Mm-hmm. It all comes back to the patient experience because this is why ENTs went to medical school, right? To heal patients.
Helping everybody, yes.
So first, before we really jump into this, and this is the whole big issue of the patient experience, is let's talk about what does that even mean? What does it mean?
To me, it starts when the patient comes in the door. I think everything from the way they're greeted to the waiting room to what they see in there all factors into the patient experience.
Aha. So for me, the patient experience today is a little bit different than maybe what we would have thought about when I was back in the Stone Ages when I was a child, where doctors are thinking about, is the patient healed or not? It's very binary. Did I fix their diagnosis, and did I treat? Was the treatment successful? Right? And now the patient experience it encompasses a lot more. I mean, that from when they walk in the door, the whole time when the patient is coming in, and actually we might even say before they even come into the office.
You're right. There's a lot of things that can be done by patients and practices now before that patient even shows up. So you are right. It could very well start well before that, maybe even at the PCP level. I think with social media and the way things are changing now so rapidly that, I remember when I was growing up, bedside manner and how physicians treated patients seemed to be a hot topic or a big thing that everybody talked about. Is the doctor nice? And now there's just so many more layers to what a patient expects when they go into the office. I don't know how fast clinics are adapting to that.
Exactly. So let's start with the beginning. Okay, so primary care, you have your relationship with your referring doctors. Question: do you have a relationship? Are enough of our ENT doctors engaging and re-engaging with their referring physicians? Are they keeping them up to date on the new services that they're providing, new medical solutions, new procedures? Maybe if they started doing aesthetics, are they engaging? That's a big question.
I would hope so. That's my initial answer is I would hope so. From the feedback that I've gotten in the market, I think that most ENTs do a really good job of reaching out to PCPs to kind of educate them on what they're doing. We see that in reverse. I've been to clinics where a surgery center might come to the office to speak about some of the advantages that they have. Uh-huh. I've seen many reps come. But I think that in general, they do a good job of at least educating those type of clinics and those referring physicians to help them. However, I don't know how good of a job they're doing with the marketing aspect, whether it's digital marketing, online, social media, whatever, kind of however you want to encompass your marketing. I'm not sure how much time ENT clinics are really putting into marketing, and I think there's a window there to really separate yourself, not only from your competition, which is kind of weird when you think about it. You don't hear ENTs necessarily talk about competition too much, as you've gone to school with your fellow ENTs, you see them at the trade shows, you see them in the hospital, you see them in the OR, but to some degree, there's a little bit of competition there.
That's true. So we feel that the referring physician education is pretty well handled, but there's this whole other avenue, because unless your patients are primarily HMO, where they have to go to the PCP in order to get the referral, patients are looking elsewhere. They're Google search. They're getting references from their friends and family, right? Referrals from their friends and family. Word of mouth is still big, but word of mouth through social media, I think, is huge. That's where people are leveraging their relationships with their neighbors. I just saw my neighborhood group is probably once a week. They're asking, I need to do this for my kids. Do you recommend an orthodontist? Or it's happening even in Facebook groups. So we're not even talking about next door or anything like that. So how do where do our ENT clinics start when they're thinking, well, I can't, jump into Laura's neighborhood forum.
It's not just ask about a babysitter anymore, huh?
No, it's not. It's not. It's if someone sees flashing lights, we all start typing in there what happened at somebody's house.
Right away.
It's a thing. So where do they start? I mean, having a Facebook page.
Absolutely. Definitely having a Facebook page. You have to have, we've seen clinics now coming out with TikToks as well. I know it's not as much or as kind of prevalent, but especially if you're doing aesthetics, I've seen a lot of practices who are doing any type of cosmetic really, really dive headfirst into that Instagram, into that kind of that influencer land. But I think it's important to do that if you're just if you're not doing that and you're really just doing standard ENT work, I think it's equally as important. There's just so many ways that you can continue to reach out to your patients. I'm not sure if they're taking advantage of it.
For me, all of that social media is great. It starts with the website because that's what the clinic owns, and that's where you're going to be able to track your data. Facebook could shut down tomorrow, and all the posts that we have on there are going to, we're not going to have them unless we screenshot them, right? So your website having proper searches and proper search engine optimization, that's the SEO lingo, those are very important, and having new and relevant content that people can keep on returning to, I think is very, very important. And then if you have a staff member who likes some particular social media, you need to be able to not just do 3 posts and then forget about it and then a year later do another post. Like, you're going to have to keep the topics relevant and keep on posting and be consistent about it. So if there's some staff member who's all about doing those videos and staying on top of those trends, I mean, that's fun. That also goes back to the patient experience, because if you're promoting that and the staff feel like they're part of something with the social media, then it's gonna flow through into the office and the office environment, the cultural environment.
It's worked here for us. It's worked here. I'm sure it's worked countless other places as well. If you like going to work, it's just going to help you be that much better, whether it's interacting with patients, interacting with other physicians, or interacting with your colleagues. So I think that's a very good point. I don't know how much more, practices and ENT practices can kind of dive in by themselves. I wonder, have you reached out to vendors to help with marketing? Have you reached out to help with vendors with SEO? I know that there are other vendors who, one of the first things they want you to do, kind of when you go on board with them, is fix your website and make it so that it's nicer and updated and new. But kind of like you said, how often after that first revision are you changing content? Are you looking at trends in your kind of in your area? It's not just step 1 that you have to really worry about in business. It's really step 2 and 3 and 4, and it's not something that I've seen really focused on over the years in the ENT practice. But in order to stay relevant and one step ahead of your competition, I think you really either need to leverage industry partners, an employee in the office, maybe your own knowledge, but really find a way to help to push, the marketing aspect and that word of mouth aspect of the ENT experience or the patient experience.
I agree. And as we close this topic of marketing to your patients in your community, I do want to point out that even Xoran, we have something called the Practice Enhancement Kit for all of our customers, and it's a way to help our customers get started with promoting the ENT promoting these ancillary services to the patients. So from images to relevant content to your e-blast that you're going to send out, and you're going to curate an email newsletter list. I think this is a big issue, Rami. Big issue or big fuss? What do we think?
I think big issue. I agree. I think the marketing aspect of the patient experience might be one of the biggest in my opinion, because of the way information is transmitted so quickly now, and it's so readily available at your fingertips. To me, this might be the biggest.
So there you have it. That's part 1 of our patient experience today. On our next episode, we're going to talk about workflow and how that impacts the patient experience.
Thank you so much for joining. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the ENT Review.